Welcome to Leadership Lessons from the Negro Leagues. My name is Steve Taddei, and I'm pleased that for today's show, we have two fantastic guests. We have a painter, an artist, Beth Dejesus England, and a baseball researcher and author, Ted Knorr. Now, Ted's been on the show before talking about a lot of great things, and they're here to talk about Beth's beautiful painting of the greatest outfield of all time. Beth, Ted, welcome to the show today.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and I can't wait to hear more about this project. Beth, I'd like to ask you the first question. How did you and Ted come together on this project?
Well, through a mutual friend, Ted was in town to do a Sabre presentation about the Negro baseball and the Harrisburg Giants, focusing on Rap and Oscar and Fats. And anyway, I met him for the first time at my opening. It was also my birthday, and we were at the Genetti, and it was downstairs where they have like a restaurant, and then in the back there's a wall where artists hang their artwork. It was Morris. So anyway, we started talking, and Ted was looking at my art, and I told him I did a Sabre also, and I showed him the piece, and I think I gave it to you as a gift. And you had talked to me about possibly doing a commission, and I think we wrote something down. I have the very first receipt. You gave me your email and said you'd be in touch, and he kind of gave me an overview of what he wanted. But yes, we met at the Genetti, and I said, okay, I'd love to come to the Sabre, which I was planning on anyway. And I learned so much more about these players. I'd really never heard of them prior to Ted's lecture. And I think a few weeks later, Ted sent me an email, and I started gathering all sorts of information and, pictures on the internet. Ted sent me his Word documents, so I educated myself about the players. We kind of had the time frame of the team be it 1926 to 27. So we were talking about the field. I looked for the actual field and really just didn't come up with much of anything. Lou, I think, and Ted suggested the Bowman field, which again ties us into, this area, into the whole painting. And I said, oh, that's really cool. So they actually played their opening day game. The opening, right, of Bowman Field was that first day that they played in 1926. And it was an exhibition game. And I'm not sure who it was against, but it was the Harrisburg Giants.
Yeah, the Harrisburg Giants played the Williamsport team. I think they might have been the Grays, but that's Lou's Bollywood.
Yeah. Right. So yes, there was a game, and I said, well, Lou Hunsinger, who's friends with Ted, has written many of these books, but I said, this is great. Can I borrow it? And in the book are very early pictures of ballparks. So he told me this is the actual picture that I used right here in the background. And I looked for the players. That was kind of a feat in itself. Lots of pictures, but I needed to get all three of them together, that there's not one that exists. So I'm basically making, I did find the two players, Fats and Oscar. And then, Ted had this great painting, which is behind him, by his name's Phil Dewey, right? The artist, Phil Dewey. And he did this Rap Dixon. So that's all over the internet. but I wanted to find the actual photograph that this was done from. So I did locate that, the picture of Rap, and then I superimposed with Photoshop the background and then the two players, and then with Rap standing next to them. And I remember early on calling Ted or emailing Ted and asking him about the height, because I had a feeling that Rap was taller, but I didn't know exactly. So Ted, helped me out, and he said, "Yep, Rap was." You said he was 6'2"?
5'11", 6 foot.
Okay, yeah, I remember he was taller than the other two, so
Yeah.
I, did a little bit of photoshopping and sent the Photoshop to Ted and said, "What do you think about this?" And I gave him I think a few different. And it's probably going to be easier for me to show you because of the speed of the internet and my desktop. These are some of the things that I use to do the painting. So this is that's the picture that Ted has, the painting, and this is Rap, and there's Rap there. Another one of Rap, and this is actually, I think, the real photo of Rap. So, and then this is the painting. And then these are the other players. That's Oscar. And I think that's Fats Jenkins. I can tell. I know him now. And then here they are identified. And that's before we put before I added the field. And Ted also gave me some ideas. He liked, this. I think you sent me many of other players, kind of how they may have posed. I mean, I have the players, lots of pictures. And this is the painting, the other painting that Ted has of Rap Dixon batting. Of course, I can't see his face. Here's Fats Jenkins again, Oscar Charleston, so I could study other pictures. Oh, yeah. And the funny thing is, I was talking to Lou, and Lou said he was kind of hot-tempered. And I said, well, talk about hot-tempered was me when I was painting him, because I was screaming at the canvas and his face. It took me probably about 20 attempts. And this, bless you. This is a funny picture. I mean, that's not really a funny picture, but this is a picture of my painting. And at one point, you can kind of see it's faded. The background is my painting. And this is the Dewey that Ted has, the Phil Dewey. I've superimposed it because I wanted to know why mine doesn't look like this. But actually, I didn't really want it to look like Phil Dewey's. I really wanted it to look similar to the actual photo I found of Rap. And he has a very unique face, very narrow, very chiseled. His chin is very narrow. I mean, for a man, I thought he had a very narrow chin. And he's a tall man, but he's very defined. He was a real challenge for me to paint. Again, you see how many times, and this shows more of the field, and that Ted's, this is the 11 by 14 size is what we decided on, but we didn't want to feature the field. We really wanted to feature the player. So this would be the one, the final one that I worked with as far as photoshopping.
You mentioned on your website that you like painting baseball games, weddings, community events.
I did.
Yeah, I can tell by your t-shirt you're a baseball fan. Your favorite team is the Orioles?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Orioles. In fact, I'm going down to Maryland this weekend, and they're doing great this year. So,
oh, okay.
Talking about possibly going to see a game. I haven't been since I moved.
Okay.
So, it's been.
So, have you been an Oriole fan all your life?
I would say, yeah, we moved to Bel Air, Maryland when I was like 7. And my
Mhm.
dad was always a big baseball fan. And he had season tickets through his company. And we used to go all the time, Memorial Stadium. I remember
Mhm.
Wild Bill Hagee and all the craziness of and the craziness of the 70s. I do. They used to have a International Harvester Day, and they would bring the international trucks and the scouts and whatnot, and they'd have hot dogs and hamburgers, and they cook it right on the baseball field and in the dugouts. And we got to meet all the players. It was really cool.
Good.
And I was
Good.
probably about maybe 10, 11 years old.
Oh, there's nothing better than meeting the players when you're 10 or
Yeah,
11.
yeah.
It's just bigger than life.
Mm.
Now, Ted, we've talked before. Your hero is Rap Dixon, and he's featured in the photo with Oscar Charleston and Fats Jenkins. Can you tell us how this group became known as the greatest outfield of all time?
Well, I have to tell you, that particular statement is mine. However, during their playing days, they were called the $1 million outfield, as were a lot of other outfields. And I feel I can defend the statement that they're the greatest outfield during the segregated era without any problems. The greatest outfield of all time is a little different because those guys never played the best. They played half of the best. It's just like Ruth and Cobb never played the best. They only played half of the best. So
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to compare. And the athletes have never been better than they are today. But why I think they're the greatest outfield of the segregated era, can I say a couple things about that?
Sure.
Since 1947, 27 outfielders have began Hall of Fame careers. Of them, 21 would not have been permitted to play prior to 47. So
Mm-hmm.
that tells you that to declare an all-white outfield prior to 47 as the greatest, you might be on some shaky grounds there. And the Hall of Fame doesn't do a good job of making that point because there are 48 outfielders in the Hall beginning careers prior to 47, and only 7 of them are Negro Leaguers.
Is that
But the
right?
Harrisburg outfield is the only outfield that includes one of those 7 and 2 of the 5 other outfielders that remain on the Hall of Fame ballot. So Rapp and Fats are on the last ballot that included outfielders, and Charlie is in the Hall. So that's
Mm-hmm.
unique among Negro League outfields. The other thing that makes me feel like they're the best outfield of the segregated era, they're intact for 4 years. There's only 2 other Negro League outfields, and there's maybe a dozen at most traditional Major League outfields during the segregated era that are together for 4 or more years. So, and in the statistics, during the 4 years together, the Harrisburg Giants hit 349 as a unit in a league that had lower batting averages than the New York Yankees of the 20s, who hit 325 as a unit. So everything to me makes it a slam dunk that they're the greatest outfield under segregation. Beth chose the title, and I support it. The greatest outfield of all time is also, perhaps true. I wouldn't want to defend it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's what collaboration is all about. You both agreed on the title, and that's what the collaboration is all about.
Yep.
Now, Beth, I looked at your website, and you had a quote that resonated with me from Mark Kearns.
Mhm.
My work is about my connection to my surroundings. The subject of my pictures are things that are familiar and immediate to me. What does that mean to you?
Pretty much what it says. I relate to what I kind of see around me. And I definitely relate to baseball. So, I definitely, I thought it was a great opportunity. And I just thought it was a great opportunity to get their story out there too, because I didn't know about them until really I went to the Sabre. And I think a lot of people just in general are really interested in this kind of forgotten part of baseball that, happened in the early days. Um, Ted and I, well, I'm at the Sabre meeting that's going to be in just Detroit, right?
Yes.
I've made prints for him. So he's distributing 150 of them in the giveaways. And on the back is what I was showing you are the stats of the players. So that was my idea. I thought, instead of just having a print with their names on the front and what the name of the painting is, to give them information.
Mm-hmm.
So
Are you going to the Detroit's Jerry Malloy conference?
I don't think I'm going to Detroit, but I am going to the Juneteenth game where they're going to honor the 3 players.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm meeting Ted next Monday. I'm going to Maryland, and on the way back, I'm going to give him this and all of the prints. So, and then then I'm coming back to Harrisburg area to see. I'm not sure you can tell you who we're going to see, but it's Juneteenth, so they're going to
Yes.
celebrate.
Where is it going to be?
It's going to be at the Harrisburg Baseball Park, which is the same location, home plate, the same place as it was in the 20s.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I did not know that. That's cool.
Yes, you're going to have a great time, Beth.
So you mean home plate as in, is it the same field or is it
Same field.
Same field?
Yep.
Oh,
The
wow.
superstructure, the stands around the field are, of course, different, but
Yeah.
the field is where it was in 1890.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
Yep.
Now, Beth, you've done other baseball art. One that I saw on your website was a Williamsport Crosscutters versus
Yep.
State College, and
Yep.
you have a story behind that one too, don't you?
I do have a story. That one I did in 2021. And of course, we're just kind of still in the pandemic. Happy to go to a Crosscutters game because I think the year before they didn't have the games. They didn't have them in 2020. So yeah, I was kind of excited, and it was one of the earlier games. I don't think it was opening day, but it was one of the earlier ones. And like I said, I bring my little supplies with me, my watercolors, and kind of spread out as much as I can. And sitting to the right of me was my friend Lou, and to the left was this real big guy. and he was like, "Am I in your way?" And I said, "No, it's okay. I'll adjust. It's no worries." And he was just fascinated what I was going to do, and I set everything up. And a game is anywhere from, I guess it's about 2.5 hours, especially the minor leagues. And, I know I have about 2 hours to finish a painting, and normally I get them done before the game is over. So I set it up and start painting, and him and his fiance were sitting next to me, and they were just so fascinated watching. And this happens a lot of, it's happened to other games I've been to. Anyway, the funny story is, okay, I finished the painting and they loved it. And he said, I need to talk to you. And then we kind of like he didn't exchange numbers or anything like that. And I think I got distracted and I didn't give him my card. So he looked and looked and looked for me. And the funny thing is he saw me painting another painting on the side of the road right down the street here, Route 54. I was painting the big Maori's barn, a big 30 by 40 painting that's actually going to be in a show coming up here in June. And he said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I found you." And he said, "Do you still have that cross cutters painting?" I said, "I want to give that to my fiance for a Christmas present." And I said, "I did." And I said, "It's definitely yours." And he did. He picked it up right before Christmas, and I framed it for him too. So he was just so happy to see he said it was just such a neat experience for them to watch the game and then to watch me paint the game.
Right. That's
So,
fantastic. So they watch you paint it, but they serendipitously, by luck, ran into you when you were
yeah,
painting another
yeah.
project. Yeah,
Yes, completely just random. And he
right,
was driving by on his way home from work.
right.
So I was able to give him my business card then.
It's not fantastic. Now, you not only paint, you play the fiddle and the mandolin.
I do. In fact,
Ah,
I have my instruments right here.
is that right? Okay.
This is a mandolin. Yeah, my fiddle's over here too. I'm in a string band, an old time string band. We do some bluegrass and old time music. I'm really the old time person. I do. My 4 songs I sing. I'm not the best singer. We have much better singers in the band. Although I was complimented the other day, and I thought, oh, thanks. I do Angeline the Baker, which was written in 1852 by Stephen Foster. And
Oh,
I do another song by the Carolina Chocolate Drops called Cornbread and Butterbeans. And that's from, I think, around the 1800s also. Yeah, so it's fun, and we do a lot of variety. I would say we're very eclectic, but we are a string band. No drums in the band.
all
One
right.
of our players, who she mainly plays mandolin. I play mandolin sometimes when she's not, but she plays a washboard too. So we have a washboard and a banjo player and a
That
harmonica
is
player.
fun.
So
That
we
is
have a lot
absolutely
of fun.
fun.
We have a
Yeah,
lot of fun.
right. And then Ted, you're really passionate about baseball in general and Negro leagues in particular. You do a lot of work in visiting classrooms and schools, don't you?
Well, I tried to. I did a lot more before the pandemic,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just was in Harrisburg High last week and had a very nice experience. Just one class, juniors and seniors, and I'm not an author, but I do have a book. It's a coloring book, but the kids loved it, boys and girls, and it includes Rap, Fats, and Charlie. So it's really more than to the third graders. It's a coloring book, but to these guys and gals, it was a bit of history.
Hmm.
And I'd like to do more, but I probably do 3 or 4 classrooms a year,
Hmm.
and I'd like I said, to do more.
Good, good. Well, hopefully that can happen. Now, Beth, what's next for you?
Oh, I've got a busy summer. Doing my big Mary's barn, the one that I think I may have shared earlier. If you want me to share it again, I can. Um, that is going to be in a show June 4th, and it was jurred into the show. It's Penn College's over here. It was called 100 Miles. So if you were an artist within 100 miles, you could submit, and that was picked to show, and some other area artists that I know are also in the show. So that's June 4th, and then June 11th, I am the marketing director for the Bald Eagle Art League, and we put on Ways Garden Art Show, and this is the 66th year of Ways
Wow.
Garden. Yes, it's an old art show, and it's right in the heart of Williamsport. It's outside show, and I bring my paintings, probably anywhere from 30 to 40 paintings and prints, and I'm going to be featuring, the prints of that I have, and that's going to be my big new painting. So, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interest because I know there's a lot of people that like baseball in our area. And,
Right.
we at the Little League, we're the home of the Little League. So, and then I also have some other contests that I'm out, in a plein air event. I'm trying to get in the plein air magazine. I haven't heard back from them, and I'm trying to get in another plein air event in Maryland. It's like thousands of artists and they pick 30. So, but I'm on a roll because I think out of 500, I was juried into the 100 miles and they picked 50. So that's a pretty
Right.
good,
Excellent.
So I said,
Excellent.
yeah, I'm on a roll. And then in August, I am going to do the LH Jams Festival, which is music and art. I'm not playing, but I'm going to be painting other musicians while they play. It's great. I did it last year. It's Lock Haven. They used to call it the Jazz Festival, and there is jazz, but it's kind of a variety. So they say Jams Festival. And then in November, I'm going back to Portugal. And
Oh,
before I go, I have a solo show that's going to be at the Lycoming Arts Gallery in Williamsport on 4th Street. So that'll be the first Friday, and then it'll show for the month. But I'll be in Portugal like right after that for about 10.
excellent. Excellent. Well, I wish you much success. I've got your Facebook page, your website, and there's an excellent article that was in the Williamsport Sun Gazette that I will put in the show notes. So everybody that watches this and listens to this will be able to find that. And Ted, you're involved in a lot of things. One of the things I remember you talking about is the 42 for 21. How is that going?
Well, let's have the good news first. The 42 for 21 was conceived in late 2021 by Gary Gillette, myself, and Sean Gibson. That's Josh's great grandson. The purpose, this was when the hall was voting that ended up getting Buck and Bud Fowler in, and Minnie Minoso as a major leaguer. But we wanted to make the case that there were more than that deserved and should be considered. And we were a little late to influence that to any great degree. Mm-hmm. But we had 80 voters, and Steve, they're all credentialed. I think it's the largest voting panel that's ever been put together. It's 3 times as big as the Pittsburgh Courier poll. Of course, those guys saw them play, so I'm not trying to compare quality there, but our 80 researchers and authors are very credentialed, and we have now a list of 42. It was, we've taken out Buck, Minnie, and Bud, but that we hope will be influential in December of 2024. And of course, you may know this, and I don't know if I was influential. I like to think not, but Rap finished number 1. So Rap tops that poll. Dick Redding was second. John Beckwith is third. Gus Greenlee fourth. So the people at the top are the people you'd expect.
That's a heck of a group, those 4.
Yeah, and we're hoping to make some noise because right now the voting procedures, they don't announce the ballot or the voters until late in the game, so that'll be no earlier than October. I think it was even in November the last time. So it makes it difficult to influence. And the ballot, and this is infuriating, Steve, but let me maintain some composure. There'll be, I think it's 12 players on the ballot. They're going to be players from 1980 and before. So these poor players who were condemned by segregation during their playing career are now suffering from integration during this process. Dick Allen is going to be competing against John Beckwith. Now, how can they be fairly compared by 16 voters that, are not familiar with the Negro Leagues? The 42 for 21 committee is intent on influencing the Hall before they make that mistake in December of 24.
Mm-hmm. All right. Interesting. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. And I am going to see you in July in Detroit at the Jerry Malloy conference.
Yes, looking forward to it, Steve.
We've talked several times on Zoom and finally get to meet in person.
Yeah.
Just
last.
Pardon me, Beth?
I said you'll get one of those prints.
That's fantastic.
Because I was going to give you one. I was going to ask you for your address.
Okay. Well, terrific. I'd love to have it. So good. So the conference is coming up in
July 20th through 23rd.
Right. And then you're working on the 42 for 21. Do you have any other projects going on?
Oh, sure. Next Monday, I have a big meeting with an artist from Williamsport. So I'll be showing her. the man cave. Yes, we do. And then the following Saturday, Memorial Day Saturday, I'm thrilled, Steve. I will be in the burial lot of Rap Dixon with all three of these paintings. The one right behind me, the Phil Dewey, the one that I'm going to get from Beth on Monday, and the one I have from Andy Brown. It's another like 10 by 14. So it's a great place to be on Memorial Day weekend. There's 100 African-American soldiers from the Civil War till World War II, I believe, buried in the cemetery. Wow. So that's my next trip. And then 3 days in June, Beth hopes to make Juneteenth at the Harrisburg Senators. The very next day, I'll be in Lancaster with the Barnstormers. 2 days later, I'm going to be in York with the Revolution. And 2 days later, I'm going to be on my way to Alpharetta, Georgia for the APA Baseball Conference, which hopefully will include a speaking engagement in Kingston, Georgia, where Rap was born. So I'm busy.
You got a lot of stuff going on and exciting. So you'll have a lot of stories to tell when you're at the conference in July.
I will, but that conference is action-packed. I don't know if you've seen the schedule, but I roll into town 7:30 Thursday morning. It tipped off at 9 o'clock, and I leave Saturday during the banquet. So it's going to be an action-packed weekend.
It'll be a whirlwind for you. So that's good. I look forward to seeing you in person. So,
all right, Steve.
Ted, thanks for being on the show today.
Steve. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's our show for today. Thank you, Beth Dejesus England and Ted Knorr, for the great conversation. The painting is the greatest outfield of all time. For more information, please go to the show notes. I'm providing the links that Beth and Ted gave us. Let's keep in touch. I love spending time in the community talking about Negro League baseball. I'm available to speak in person or virtually at your service club, community organization, religious group, youth group, or your Toastmasters club. You can reach out to me by my email address, which is in the show notes. You can also contact me via LinkedIn or hit me up on Twitter. I love hearing what you're passionate about. My Twitter handle is @MarathonMax1. I would be grateful if you would like, share, comment, and subscribe, so this message will go far and wide, and we'll find that shiny needle of common ground in that haystack of fear.